Welcome back to Quicks14Blog, Quicks14 here, back in World of Warcraft for some Onxyia raid with the Daily Grind. For those of you who've been following Daily Grind for a while, may remember our old school run we did with Onxyia back before the revamp, and how we kind of started out with that. So this was something I was definitely looking forward to doing, and definitely looking forward to us finally getting, and that's of course downing the new Onxyia revamp. And we took a long break from it, obviously, and I decided, to take another good look at it and give it a good shot, and we did really, really well, actually. So this is our wipe, which actually wasn't that bad. The biggest place people usually struggle in this fight, let's get to the fight, is the second phase here. The whelps aren't too much of an issue. They're fairly easy to deal with. You know, like as you can see, just clump them together and pound them. The problem is the melee, getting a hold of the melee, controlling how quickly you can burn the melee down before the next one comes out. And while this is all going on, dealing with the deep breaths, knowing where you're at, especially in the 25-man, if you've ever done 25 in Onxyia, it can be very difficult to keep track of exactly where you're at and where Onxyia is at in 25-man. Obviously, having deadly boss mods and bigwigs helps, because when she's getting ready to do her deep breath, she will take notice of it. But if you don't have somebody there to really help out and let you know where it's at, it can be a real disaster. When I actually, since I am the raid leader, went ahead and tried to do this, and as you can see here, I thought I was clear, and I totally was not. So that was my mistake, and unfortunately a lot of people followed me, so they also died as well. So we lost a lot of our DPS there, and of course my heals. There were still two other healers for the most part, so it wasn't too bad. But a lot of our ranged DPS got killed because of that, and also because of losing some aggro on one of the mods. So this definitely wasn't the greatest start to the raid ever. But it went quite a long time. In fact, it went so long here that I've actually had to cut out some of this footage of them doing this. And so while this is happening, since I'm dead and they're still fighting, I'm pretty much calling out deep breaths to them over vent and letting them know when she's getting ready to do it, roughly the direction she's going, and when it's all clear, so they know when to move back into positions. The tanks did an awesome job. My wife was tanking, and we had an off-tank who's getting into tanking a DK, who did a great job of handling the whelps. It had a little struggling here a little bit in this first one, because it was the first time she'd ever done it, but the second time she didn't have a problem at all, and our tanks did an awesome job of controlling aggro, and of course controlling these guys and keeping them busy. Our melee DPS did a great job of helping out and taking down the melee ads. So important, because they're easy to get to overwhelm if they're not taken down fairly fast. So we did wipe, of course, eventually. I mean, it took a long time, but it had to happen. So we went ahead and got reorganized, rescheduled, and I went ahead and went in this time and did things just a tad differently. First and foremost, that first time we got hit by the deep breath, I didn't call it out. I called out deep breath was coming, but I didn't say where it was coming from. And as you can see, I also mistaken where it was coming from myself. And yeah, so what you want to do, and what you usually do, is you want your tank to go ahead and grab an Onxyia. Make sure there's at least one healer, if not two healers, with her as she's making her way in there. If you have a priest, bubbling the tank is a great idea. You want to do it right up against that back wall, where you can easily pretty much tank her there. We had one extra whelp out for some reason, but the off-tank handled it. It's always good that if somebody somehow gets accidentally tail whipped or whatever into one of the pits or the whelp caves, to have them get out of it as quickly as possible and call that whelps are incoming, so the off-tank can move to grab them and they can be killed. Phase 1's pretty straightforward, tank and spank, nothing really fancy about it. Phase 2 starts, she's going to lift off, of course, and the ads will start coming out. Everybody should move towards the middle, and of course should continue to DPS her until the ads are out, and then we switch to the ads. Ranged DPS should focus on Onxyia, while melee DPS focus on helping with the ads, specifically the melee ads. To start here, helping out with the the whelps is a good idea. AoEing the whelps will help as well, but for the most part you want to at least keep one, usually one of your top DPSers, if not two, focused on Onxyia, so you can get keep doing damage to her. When the melee ad comes out, the main tank should grab him. The off tank should handle the whelps. At least we did that in our case. It'll be easier for the off tank to handle the whelps than the melee, more than likely. Melee, most important thing is, first of all, range should not stand too close to the melee. And second of all, nobody but the tank should be directly in front of the melee. All other melee DPS should be behind him. If there is a warrior present, disarming the melee is very, very useful. So if there's any warriors present, disarming the melee and keeping him disarmed will be a huge advantage in helping out with lessening the need for heals on the tank. An off tank needs to basically just grab the whelps as they come out and try to group them up as much as possible so they can be ranged or AoE down and such. During this entire time, somebody should be calling out when deep breaths are happening and where they're coming from as quickly as possible. Here, as deep breaths are being announced on my screen, I'm looking at where she's at, where she's facing, and where she looks like she's going to go, and giving everybody a heads up to move. Another good way to do that is the same person, just designate them with an icon, and pretty much people can follow them that way easily. Some people were doing that with me instead of called, since Vent of course can lag. During this entire time, damage can still be done to Onxyia. Ranged DPS can do that. Melee can do it as well, but they need to be directly underneath her in order to do that. So very, very important. We had 3 healers here, which is a little bit of overkill on healing, but it does help things out. And in case one healer does die, manage to get hit by a bad deep breath, you've still got plenty of healers to keep everybody up. In this case, we had a priest healer, a shaman healer, and myself, a druid healing. I was focusing primarily on main tank healing, even though you can pretty much see I'm healing pretty much everybody. That's just my style for you guys who have been watching me long enough. The priest is in discipline mode and is actually focusing on the off tank and helping out with other heals as necessary. And our shaman is focused on raid healing. Also very important that once deep breath is done, throwing out an all clear will help people know that they can get back into position. Otherwise, they're likely to stay where they're at, and that could make grabbing ads harder. Phase 3 begins when Onxyia is at 40%. She will go back to the back of the end of the cave and land. Her aggro table never ever gets reset as long as the main tank or whoever, the main tank and whoever else did not die. She will, of course, go right back to that aggro table and automatically have full aggro with that tank. So, since the main tank usually is doing melee, it's a good idea to have the main tank move over there, have the off tank pull off the melee off the main tank so the main tank can head back there. It's very important that all ads should be burnt when she lands, especially the melee. Melee should have priority kill. As you can see, we popped Heroism and we are popping Army of the Dead from our DKs here. This will actually help, especially since Fear is now a possibility. We do have a Tremor Totem, which will help as well. Not required, probably more helpful in 25 more than 10. But will definitely make things a little easier with dealing with the fear. As you can see here, the fear is pushing people out. We did get some stuff messed up. Our main tank and a few others did get pushed into the whelp cave, but we easily recovered and brought her back in and over to be dealt with. And it's pretty much just coordination here, focusing on what's going on, keeping everyone aware when whelps come out, because they still spawn normally as well, to be noted. And of course, most importantly, letting us know what to do. It should be the raid leader's discretion, or whoever is keeping track of the health, when to just pure burn. I waited to about 10% before I said just burn her, because if there's too many whelps, it can get overwhelming, and you can easily die. As you can see there, we had to switch where she was at because we got too close to Whelp Cave, so I had to tell everybody to move back behind her so she could be moved. Staying away from the head is very important. It does have a cone, so melee, never ever be in her head. And of course the tail is a tail whip, just like any other dragon. Otherwise, not too difficult, not too bad. Just coordination, of course, and being aware. It really lies on the raid leader or whoever is calling out those deep breaths to keep on it. Phase 2 is definitely the most hardest and probably the place where a lot of people will have struggled with. I know we have. So that's all I have for you today. We're very happy to have her down, come full circle pretty much for the guild. Really, really cool feeling. And really awesome. Thank everyone for coming, and I thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and if you like more, subscribe. Thanks so much, guys.